Hello everyone, before we start give me a minute to tell you a few things. This video is based on my personal taste, so only anime will be featured that in my opinion a true fan shouldn't miss. I have not included anime with more than 200 episodes because they would have taken too much time to be seen, not giving space to others. In addition, the shows are sorted according to the number of episodes. I've made the subtitles too, so you can watch it even if English isn't your main language. It took me a really long time to make this video, so I'm asking you a favor, share it with someone who has no idea which anime to watch next. Let's not waste any more time and go straight to the list. I hope it can help you. Backstreet Girls, Gokudols. After failing their boss for the last time, 3 Yakuza members are faced with one of two choices: have their organs harvested and sold or take a trip to Thailand for Seg's reassignment surgery and become pop idols. This anime is critically underrated. It's definitely dirty, raunchy, vulgar comedy, strictly for adults, but if you enjoy that kind of comedy, then you will love this show. Devilman Crybaby. With demons reawakened and humanity in turmoil, a sensitive demon boy is led into a brutal, degenerate war against evil by his mysterious friend, Rio. Devilman Crybaby is an outstanding, dark action horror that is strictly not meant for kids. While some of the explicit content was played for comedic purposes, I found a lot of it scarier than any live-action film/series. So beware, some of the moments in the series would be really hard-hitting and emotionally charged for sensitive viewers to handle. Anohana. A group of 6 childhood friends drift apart after one of them, Menma, dies in an accident. 5 years after the incident, the leader of the group, Jinta Yadomi, has withdrawn from society, does not attend high school, and lives as a recluse. One summer day, the ghost of an older-looking Menma appears beside him and asks to have a wish granted. There's nothing quite like the loss of a loved one for changing a person. We always feel that death is such an alien concept, it exists but is somehow detached and unrelated to our own little world until it comes knocking on our doorstep. Anohana tries to show us just how powerful an effect death can have on us. Ping Pong the Animation. 5 ping pong prodigies learn to navigate the harsh climate of competitive sport and the even more frightening realm of self-realization. Ping Pong the Animation is an exceptional show. This is less of a sports anime and more of a powerful emotion series. It's a beautifully crafted coming-of-age story and one that certainly doesn't come along often. In a word, it's unconventional. Nothing about ping pong feels ordinary, so love it or hate it, it's hard to not recognize its artistic merit. Terror in Resonance. Tokyo has been decimated by a terrorist attack, and the only clue to the culprit's identity is a bizarre internet video. While paranoia spreads, 2 mysterious children form Sphinx, a clandestine entity determined to pull the trigger on this world. What I found was a mature and compelling story that kept me entertained throughout the season. Prison School. Hashimitsu Private Academy is a prestigious all-girls boarding school, famous for its high-quality education and disciplined students. However, this is all about to change due to the revision of the school's most iconic policy, as 5 boys are now able to enroll as well. I've watched a lot of anime and this one really stands out. Despite swinging between misogyny and misandry while being drenched in lewdness, it has a weird charm to it that's hard to explain. It's just unforgettable, the characters are all memorable and it'll make you cry from laughter every minute. Madoka Magica. A creature named Kyubi offers Madoka and Sayaka a wish if they agree to become magical girls and fight abstract beings called witches. However, a magical girl named Hamura is, for uncertain reasons, determined to stop this agreement. Don't let the cutesy character designs fool you though, this isn't for kids. It begins very cheesy, however, what occurs in the first 2 episodes has the only purpose to manipulate your expectations. After the 3rd episode the show's true nature begins to creep through. Even if you don't like anime or have never seen it before, if you like stories with originality, intellectual and emotional depth, themes of cosmic significance and painfully human characters, watch Madoka Magica. You will enjoy it. Erased. 29-year-old Satoru Fujinuma is sent back in time 18 years to prevent the events leading to his mother's death, which began with a series of kidnappings while he was in 5th grade. The plot keeps you on the edge of your toes the whole time while the protagonist tries to change the unfortunate events from the past and present. The character development is amazing and you grow more and more attached to the characters, as the time moves toward the darker and terrible events. There are moments in the anime which are utterly heart-wrenching, and other which make you feel happily warm inside. The music is just fantastic and sets the mood where it needs to be, while also using silence to great effect. Grand Blue. College life is a bit different from high school. For those who don't know, it's like venturing into a society where some people live by the rules and others makes them. To me, Grand Blue came as a show that explored a carefree life while mixing in adult humor, diving elements, and drinking shenanigans. It's one of those shows that is hard to not laugh your ass off once you realized what you're in for. Btooom. The story is about a guy who sits at home playing video games all day. He's one of the top players in a game called Btooom. Eventually he gets kidnapped and taken to an island where he has to play the game to survive and win back his freedom. If you are into anime series that constantly keep you at the edge and do have a sense of realism and plausibility all through the story or world that has been created, then this is for you. School Live. For young girls are in the School Living Club. A club that involves around staying at school 24/7 and doing fun stuff like sports festival or going on an adventure in the middle of the night. Well, that's what Yuki believes, as she tries to hide from the harsh reality. They are in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, and they are the only survivors in the entire town, stuck in the school building and waiting for help. Death Parade. After death, humans go to either heaven or hell, but for some, at the instant of their death, they arrive at the Quindecim, a bar attended by the mysterious white-haired Decim, who has the task of deciding their fate. Each episode surprised me with the careful observation of humanity and human life. It expresses our desires, our beliefs, who we value most and what we did during our life. The show is very beautiful and will grab your full attention from the start to the end. Drifters. Various historical fighters are summoned from across time to wage war on each other, with the fate of the world in the balance. It's full of action scenes and blood sights and they are all well made. If you have a sense of humor, then this will definitely be worth every minute of time. If you take it too seriously though, then Drifters will probably feel more like a chore to watch. Goblin Slayer. In a fantasy world, a lone hero makes his living by exterminating all goblins he encounters. The main protagonist, Goblin Slayer, never fails to deliver new and creative ways of slaying goblins. Instead of fussing over elite quests and obtaining elite status, Goblin Slayer and his crew focus on the low-rank monsters which terrorize the common people. The show does not hide how brutal its world is. They heavily detail exactly what goblins are capable of and how violent and threatening they can be. Several scenes are quite disturbing, so I do not recommend it for young viewers. My Dress-Up Darling. A loner boy with a fascination for designing Hina dolls, meets Marin, a girl who wants him to make her a cosplay outfit of her favorite character from an eroge video game series. She is depicted as a free spirit who does not care what others think about her, and demonstrates clearly her passion for what she loves. But I also like the show because of how Gojo feels like a fish out of water. The story is simple but heartwarming. High School of the Dead. It's the zombie apocalypse and a group of high school students and the school nurse are trying to survive. The characters are surprisingly deeper than you'd expect and the interactions are intriguing. The show is completely over the top as you'd expect, an exorbitant amount of blood, dismemberment and a lot of fan service, which will make everything very entertaining. Shimoneta. It's about a world where all vulgar language and anything that isn't pure and good-hearted is completely banned and illegal. A terrorist group called SOX is trying to bring all of that back. Regardless of whether you're watching this anime for the absurd comedy or the underlying provoking messages, Shimoneta does a great job at both. Kakegurui. Yumiko Jabami, a seemingly naive and beautiful transfer student, is ready to try her hand at Hayakao's special curriculum. Unlike the rest, she doesn't play to win, but for the thrill of the gamble, and her borderline insane way of gambling might just bring too many new cards to the table. It's all about the madness of the characters as they struggle on high-stake gambling, just for the thrills of it. Money really doesn't matter to most of them. Having a main protagonist who is a chaotic neutral, not bad, not good, and unpredictable, is fun. Another. Sakakibara is a new student at a small-town high school. He becomes friend with a girl named Mei, who wears an eye patch and doesn't have any friend. Eventually she tells him the story of how every year, a strange calamity occurs in class 3 of 9th year. An extra person is present in the class and things go horribly wrong for everyone unless certain steps are taken in advance. I don't want to spoil it, but I will say that it may seem confusing to begin with, but things become clearer with time. Asobi Asoba Se. This schoolgirl anime is centered on Hanako, Olivia and Kasumi, 3 friends who form a school club about games. This looks like many other anime series, but once one starts watching it feels different, and certainly delivers the laughs. The character designs are distinctive, some might say ugly, but that fits with the humor of the series. The characters are a lot of fun in their own ways. The Promised Neverland. Surrounded by a forest and a gated entrance, the Gracefield house is inhabited by orphans happily living together as one big family, looked after by their mama, Isabella. Every few months, a child is adopted and sent to live with their new family, never to be heard from again. The 3 oldest siblings have their suspicions about what is actually happening, and they are about to discover the cruel fate that awaits the children living at Gracefield, including the twisted nature of their beloved mama. The first season is more of a psychological thriller, and the writers are patient in letting the plot develop. The main characters are very smart and cautious, and their opponents are equally as cunning, giving the show a similar Battle of the Minds vibe as Death Note. I recommend not watching the second season and read the manga instead because the authors inexplicably decided to cut the story and end it with it, disappointing any fan who was waiting to see the best saga of the story animated. No Game No Life. The anime is about a brother and sister, Sora and Shiro, who are neats and experts at games. They get transported to another world where games are how everything gets done. No war, murder, crimes, just games. Naturally they fit right in. It's thrilling, exciting, and so strange that it blows you away. There's a lot of strategy and wit put into it, and it shines in its own wacky and insane way. Charlotte. The story takes place in an alternate reality where a small percentage of children manifest superhuman abilities upon reaching puberty. A focus is placed on Yu Otasaka, a high school boy who awakens the ability to temporarily possess others, which brings him to the attention of Nao Tomori, the student council president of a school founded as a haven for children with such abilities. Charlotte is truly incredible, with its amazing and emotional story, lovable characters, and beautiful art. You should definitely watch it. Elfen Lied. 2 university students come across a seemingly harmless girl named Lucy, unaware that she's actually a mutant serial killer with a split personality. Elfen Lied is notorious, at least among fans of anime, for its graphic violence and frequent nudity. However, these aspects are merely part of what is in fact an excellent series. More than just an unsettling mix of cute little girls and intense gore, Elfen Lied is a series about nature versus nurture, love versus hate, the future of humanity, and similar themes. Yes, the show is quite violent, but this violence underscores these themes well and, as we later learn, is not merely just a product of instinctual brutality. Angel Beats. A guy wakes up on a school campus, which he soon discovers is something like a purgatory. He eventually joins a resistance formed by a dozen or so other fellow students with the goal of resisting the mysterious angel. Things get even crazier from there. Couple this mind-blowing concept with some unforgettable characters, crazy amounts of action, lots of Japanese rock music, crazy gore, cute comedy and a seriously depressing backstories, you get something that's unforgettable. The ending is breathtaking too. Danganronpa, the Animation. A group of teenagers enroll in a prestigious high school, which turns out to be a devious trap designed to tempt the pupils to murder one another in order to graduate. It has an amazing plot-twisted story because everything seems so logical, no matter how you play a game or it develops, if you follow the rules, nobody can't complain about it. This anime is taken from a video game. I recommend you to play them because they are really well done. Odd Taxi. This town should look familiar, but suddenly, it's not. The taxi driver Odakawa lives a very mundane life. He has no family, doesn't really hang out with others, and he's an oddball who is narrow-minded and doesn't talk much. It is something fresh and unique and probably deserves to be in a category of its own. The whole show revolves around mystery but not in the way of a detective series type. I'm impressed by how Odd Taxi mimics humanity and portrays humans being humans best. Every little detail is important. As if that were not enough, the climax was full of one plot twist and another. Violet Evergarden. Violet Evergarden is a young girl known as the Weapon during the war, because of her insane skills at the battlefield. After the war is over, Violet starts working as an auto-memories doll in order to understand her commander's last words. Dolls are hired by regular people in order to express in a letter their thoughts for someone, the best as possible. The animation is amazing. The colors and the amount of detail in every environment is a pleasure to watch. The soundtrack fits perfectly for the series. The storyline is not very attractive itself, but its execution is flawless. Rascal does not dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. The seemingly normal life of Sakuta Azusagawa, a high school student, changes drastically when he meets a wild bunny girl that seems to be invisible to others. Is so unique that we don't get to see the usual where some anti-social over-the-shy guy is trying to win a haughty girl he knows he can't handle. But we see a mystery drama that deals with the pains, problems, and joy that come with teenage relationships either among lovers, friends and family. The main character prevails over some of his hardest challenges a romance anime rarely has. Horimiya. Two very different people, an academically successful schoolgirl and a quiet loser schoolboy, meet and develop a friendship. The best part about it is how it respects the phrase, rom-com, meaning it has satisfyingly 50% romance and 50% comedy. And also how cute and wholesome this anime is. There isn't any cringy drama, unnecessary love triangles, crappy fan service, etc., just pure wholesomeness. Baccano. The people we pass by every day all have stories, it's always the choices people make that either make the stories or even throw themselves into intentionally or unintentionally, designed by fate or chance by choice, either way makes each character's story more broader because other people with stories intersect and connect. This is a principle in the mysterious art of storytelling but also life itself. This show has so much going for it truly will require more than one watch because it's just one of those stories where you uncover more as you revisit it, making it long-lasting. The animation is great and the background animation is probably the most impressive to me, cause it both captures decades long gone but also it's not static, it's actually lively. Plastic Memories. Plastic Memories takes place in a city in the near future, in which humans live alongside androids that look exactly like humans and have human emotion and memory. This is a good example of a series that is very predictable without much twists, and yet is still able to satisfy the viewers until the end despite some flaws that go unnoticed, brought about by the weight of some solid moments. Real life. 27-year-old Arati Kaizaki has been unemployed for quite a while now, only works part-time in a convenience store. One day, he was approached by Ryo Yoke, who has an offer for Kaizaki. Kaizaki has been chosen as a test subject for Real Life, a scientific experiment to make him 10 years younger, giving him a chance to attend high school and to fix whatever is currently wrong with his life. If you take out unrealistic stuffs from this anime, it feels quite relatable. This is recommended to the grown-ups as almost each of them has either gone through this or has a friend whose career went for a toss due to world weariness. Even the high school drama or the romance part has been brilliantly executed. Gantz. The main characters die in the very beginning and get kinda reborn in an apartment in Tokyo. They receive some super cool weapons and a suit that offers superhuman strength, as well as the mission to use this equipment to kill some aliens that are hiding in town within 60 minutes. It has an extremely interesting and rather unique concept that is thoroughly explored and discussed through the characters. It has the surface-level, low-brow entertainment like extreme amounts of violence and a pretty hefty amount of nudity. It does an excellent job of going against the typical story cliches. Moments of character empowerment are shot down in the flash, people who seem like throwaway characters come back later, and none of the characters are safe from harm. I absolutely suggest to not watch the second season as it takes a different path than the manga and therefore is not connected in any way to the films released after the anime. I recommend that you read the manga after the first season. To Your Eternity. A lonely boy wandering the Arctic regions of North America meets a wolf, and the two become fast friends, depending on each other to survive the harsh environment. But the boy has a history, and the wolf is more than meets the eye as well. To Your Eternity is just an amazing creation. A unique story which deals with understanding humans and their behavior. It's a journey about an empty shell living and learning in the world of humans. The opener episode was emotional and the animation was good. There was no inconsistency whatsoever with regards to the pace, animation or the story of the anime. Konosuba. After dying a laughable and pathetic death on his way back from buying a game, high school student and recluse Kazuma Sato finds himself sitting before a beautiful but obnoxious goddess named Aqua. She provides the Nido with two options: continue on to heaven or reincarnate in every gamer's dream, a real fantasy world. The humor, the facial expressions and the voice acting, when listening to the Japanese version with English subtitles, is glorious. Unique characters, no horrible cliffhangers and the list goes on. A lot of plus points there. Even if you are not into it by the first season, the second season will make it hard for you to breathe from laughter. Your Lie in April. A piano prodigy who lost his ability to play after suffering a traumatic event in his childhood is forced back into the spotlight by an eccentric girl with a secret of her own. This anime honestly took me on a musical journey with some emotional scenes that truly pull on the heartstrings, and by the end of it had me bawling my eyes out. That is how powerful this series is. It expresses a lot of feelings most of us can't express in words. All emotions, whether happy or sad, have been expressed really beautifully. Ranking of Kings. The people of the kingdom look down on the young Prince Baji, who can neither hear nor speak. They call him the useless prince while jeering at his supposed foolishness. This story is brilliantly crafted. Boji is an amazing kid with a huge heart. And he's badass. An unexpected role model slash hero, and to some extent that's what the anime is about. Anime as an art form is on true display in this show as well, with the animation itself, while undoubtedly simplistic by the standards of Attack on Titan and Jujutsu Kaisen, is plastic and responsive to characters' emotions and attitudes, which gives the whole thing a much more expressive dimension than the initially kiddie art style might suggest. Everyone, including the most trash mob villains, have a convincing and deep backstory, and except maybe a couple characters no one is totally good or totally evil, they're just caught in situations where they have to do good or do evil. Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. Mushoku Tensei is shaping up to be one of the best fantasy anime. Even though the plot is same as every other isekai, what sets it apart are the characters and the world building. Rudeus is a great protagonist that doesn't just become another isekai harem god just cause he got hit by a truck. He is a flawed human who gets a second chance at life, and tries to better himself like every other character in the show. Aside from all of that, this show also excels in animation. Even the opening theme is a banger. All of this makes it a beautiful experience everyone who loves fantasy should give a try, if you can stomach some pervy fan service here and there. 86. The Republic of San Magnolia is at war with its neighboring country, the Empire of Jayat. Both sides use unmanned drones to conduct a war without casualties. The story follows Lena as she commands a squad of drones called the 86. The anime explores issues of racism and prejudice that reflect the real-life complexities of interacting with those who aren't like oneself and the consequences of not treating each other like humans, worthy of respect and love. This is well written in the subtle and natural building tension between characters. It has plenty of mystery with the enemy, overarching political themes that add to the realism and depth, and lovable characters that makes you want more. Steins Gate. After discovering time travel, a university student and his colleagues must use their knowledge of it to stop an evil organization in their diabolical plans. At first the show starts slow and kind of childish, but as soon the story develops, it transforms into a quite deep and emotional one. The pacing of the story, the way they play with time in both storytelling and the plot itself is just superb. This show got all packed just right: drama, romance, sci-fi, action, and comedy. The animation is quite nice, and I agree that the voice acting is outstanding, especially with the mad scientist. He will become in one of your favorite characters ever, I can tell you. He is incredibly well developed. And for that matter, all the other characters are very well made too. You will feel emotionally connected to them. Vinland Saga. The story follows a young Icelandic adventurer on his quest for revenge, so of course there's great fight scenes, but where Vinland succeeds is its absolutely amazing writing. The acting, OST, writing and direction create a very live-action experience and just feel Oscar-worthy and real. The character interactions, development and world building are some of the best I have ever seen. You'll find yourself being absorbed into the story and characters in a way that rarely happens. One Punch Man. One Punch Man follows a hero that can end all of his fights with one punch, and that makes him so frustrated. Now you might be thinking, what's so interesting about that? Don't you want to see the hero struggling to kill his enemy? Well, not this time. Here, you will see a super overpowered hero struggling to find a stronger enemy, struggling to feel the thrill and adrenaline of the fights he once felt when he was weak. To me, the show seemed to know exactly what a fan of anime wanted to see and displayed it perfectly in each episode. Each of them acts as a deconstruction of the typical anime setup, parodying the use of filler episodes by removing any living trace of even the idea of filler taking place. This doesn't mean that Saitama is the only developed character in the show. The use of side characters to forward the plot is masterfully done. The quality of animations is impressive, with superb comedy matched up with some amazing fight choreography. Jujutsu Kaisen. A boy swallows a cursed talisman, the finger of a demon, and becomes cursed himself. He enters a shaman school to be able to locate the demon's other body parts and thus exorcise himself. Hunting spirits/demons/evil things have been part of anime since times old, but that doesn't mean Jujutsu Kaisen is any way boring. Good execution of the story has kept me going through the episodes with eagerness to look forward to what's coming up, along with instances of amazing action animation sequences and good characters. Openings, OSTs, and endings are really beautiful. Kill la Kill. A young girl arrives at a school of superhumans to find out the truth behind her father's murder. The immense creativity in this anime far surpasses what I usually expect from an animated product. From beginning to end, non-stop, this anime is loud, wacky, and just downright insane, laced top to bottom with over-the-top fan service, genuinely creative animation, and a ridiculous premise. Tokyo Ghoul. The story sets in Tokyo where the protagonist is attacked by a ghoul, but somehow he survives due to organ transplantation and is now a half-human half-ghoul. The anime describes his struggle as he is neither a ghoul nor a human. While struggling, he starts to understand the true nature. The animation is amazing. There was a lot of detail in things, like the color of each scene and the detail in each character all work to make it more intense and emotional. The music of this anime is amazing, in particular the first opening is considered one of the best ever. I recommend watching only the first 2 seasons while the others have gone downhill. The manga is a masterpiece though. Parasite, the Maxim. Parasitic aliens covertly arrive on Earth and begin taking over human bodies and eating humans indiscriminately. They accomplish this by eating the humans' heads and replacing them with their own bodies. However, some humans manage to stop the parasites from taking over their brains. But as a result, the parasites eat and fuse with a different part of the body in order to survive. The main character, Izumi, is one of these people. The parasite was only able to take over his right arm. Parasite is a sci-fi/horror series, but more than that, it's very philosophically and emotionally stimulating. Tokyo Revengers. Hanagaki Takemaki lives an unsatisfying life right up until his death. Waking up 12 years in the past, he reckons with the eventual fate of his friends and tries to prevent an unfortunate future. I mean, you're 26 years old and you have knowledge of future, so do something at least once that looks like something an adult would do. But no, this 26-year-old guy gets outsmarted by virtually every kid he meets. He doesn't understand anything unless it is pointed out to him by everyone, although this dude is from future and knows what is to come. Apart from the protagonist, the other characters are all enjoyable and the story itself is not bad, giving you some very emotional and badass moments. The opening and ending are bangers. Akama ga Kill. Tatsumi, a young villager who travels to the capital to raise money for his home, discovers a strong corruption in the area. The assassin group known as Night Raid recruits the young man to help them in their fight against the corrupt empire. In this anime, we have an immersion into their war. There are heroes on both sides, and everyone has their own reasons for fighting: justice, revenge, money, power, love. It becomes difficult to see some of the capital soldiers as bad guys, because their motives are so relatable. I advise you, don't get attached to any character. Darling in the Franxx. A group of children lives in a controlled environment called Mistiltine. Their needs are taken care of, and their purpose in life is to dual pilot mecha known as Franxx. This series is densely packed, and it has a huge heart. All of the characters see growth throughout the series, and 2 of the pairs see dramatic shifts as the story develops. Darling in the Franxx explores many aspects of humanity, of relationships, and even delves into big existential and philosophical questions, directly and indirectly. However, one of the few problems I had with the anime was the ending of it, a surprise but bittersweet ending that was kind of a roller coaster drop, from being a really good mecha action romance anime, to one of those low-effort plots that left the viewer in a state of confusion as to why the ending even was written in. Banana Fish. The story captures the war between a mafia boss named Dino and a young gang leader searching for redemption. Everything in Banana Fish is incredibly well organized. The pacing is very accurate, give you enough time to feel and understand the situation, with beautiful music in the background, and not taking anything for a nonsense long time. Every dialogue is really connected to the story and also contain a profound meaning. Summertime Render. Upon hearing of Ushio's death, Shinpei returns to his hometown and reunites with his childhood friend's family. The funeral goes smoothly, but under the surface something strange is brewing on the island. What mysteries await him on this secluded summer island? Cool and intelligent protagonist, grasps his situation very quickly and comes up with well thought out plans to deal with things, which is very refreshing to see. This anime is so well drawn and animated at times that it feels like it had a movie budget. Toradora. Ryuji Takasu, a high school student with a gentle and compassionate personality, lives a frustrating existence, as people around him tend to avoid him due to his intimidating appearance. He meets Taiga Aisaka, a girl at his school who possesses a violent and fiery temperament despite her petite and innocent appearance. However, when the two discover that they both have crushes on each other's best friend, they decide to work together to charm and win over their individual crushes, thus starting an unlikely friendship. The way it faces with characters' emotions and personalities is simply amazing. You'll be completely captured by the story from the beginning. It is mainly about love story but has also a lot of funny, sentimental and deep scenes. Spy X Family. A spy on an undercover mission gets married and adopts a child as part of his cover. His wife and daughter have secrets of their own, and all three must strive to keep together. The animation is great, it complements the story at both its serious moments, and at its light-hearted ones. Each character's unique personality trait helps the ones of the other shine brighter. This anime fuses comedy, action, and maybe if we wait patiently enough, romance. Noragami. A minor god seeking to gain widespread worship teams up with a human girl he saved to gain fame, recognition, and at least one shrine dedicated to him. The main characters are immediately likable and you feel like you know them incredibly well after few episodes. The animation looks fantastic and each of the main characters seem to just sparkle against the darker background of a typical Japanese city. Well, it's kinda your typical shounen anime, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth the watch. It's still very well made and a really fun watch that I think anyone would really enjoy. Mob Psycho 100. A psychic middle school boy tries to live a normal life and keep his growing powers under control, even though he constantly gets into trouble. The story is focused on this philosophy that, you are not special, so you are the one, who can be what you want to be. It shows us how the people shouldn't have hate for anyone, and emotions which we lack the most in modern culture. The storytelling is amazing. The pacing and the balance between the comedic side and the serious side are perfect. The main character has that Spider-Man element to him, meaning he is really relatable and his development throughout the episodes is really noticeable. The animation is superb, especially in the combats. Mirai Nikki. A young man competes with people around the world for a chance to become the successor of God, with a diary that is able to tell the future. The main character here has no natural talent, nor is he given time to explore his power. From the start he is thrown into survival mode and makes most choices out of desperation, and even though it seems for a while in the middle of the show he has a handle on everything, he loses his grip and inevitably digs himself into a hole he can't climb out of. Yuno Gasai is a magnetic character, she's an awesome femme fatale, and she's one of the reasons this show became so popular. Terraformers. In an attempt to colonize Mars, 21st century scientists are tasked with terraforming the planet. Their goal is to seed the planet with a modified algae to absorb sunlight and purify the atmosphere, and cockroaches, whose corpses spread the algae across the planet as they feed. 500 years later, the first crewed ship to Mars lands and its 6 crew members are attacked by giant mutated humanoid cockroaches with incredible physical strength, later labeled Terraformers. The problem of this anime is the execution. While the storyline is interesting, there isn't enough depth into it, but still, I think it is worth watching it. There's an ensemble of characters from different parts of the world, who have banded together to fly to Mars and colonize the planet. They have to battle giant, mutated, humanoid, super intelligent cockroaches, who kill humans with the same indifference we have to killing cockroaches. Made in Abyss. An enormous pit and cave system called the Abyss is the only unexplored place in the world. Strange and wonderful creatures reside in its depths, and it is full of precious relics, called artifacts, that current humans are unable to make. Made in Abyss is an anime that is severely underrated. This show can invoke so many different emotions out of you as it balances so many tones flawlessly. The characters drive the heart of this show and make us worried when they are put into dangerous situations. The danger is amplified by this beautiful world that never shies away from showing off its true nature. The world never seems evil, it seems wild and untamed, balancing on a scale between chaos and beauty. Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop is a series that should need no introduction to anime fans. However, for anyone unfamiliar with the show, mankind has colonized the stars, yet humanity remains the same desperate and power-hungry species in 2071. A ragtag duo of spacefaring bounty hunters, Spike Spiegel and Jet Black, struggle to make ends meet living amongst the stars. The characters are as real as any old-time bounty hunter/detective movie, and every bit as interesting. The sci-fi space twist doesn't take away from the show in the slightest, it adds much. Samurai Champloo. Fu, a waitress who works in a tea house, rescues 2 master swordsmen, Mugen and Jean, from their execution to help her find the samurai who smells of sunflowers. Champloo means mixed up or stir-fry, and that's what this series is, a stylish blend of old-school values and situations, meshed with more modern sensibilities, fighting styles, and visual design. Over the lush, dynamic art, a soundtrack of some of the best hip-hop from modern Japan plays. Though it's a noticeable device in the first few episodes, it doesn't take long before the music feels like second nature despite the anachronism. Champloo is many things, a mature drama, an action series, an uproariously funny comedy and a visual feast. Nichijou, My Ordinary Life. A group of students lead normal lives and cope with normal predicaments, but all too often find themselves in abnormal situations. Its action-packed over-exaggerations of everyday life will undoubtedly keep all audiences in the edge of their seats, not knowing what sort of crazy antic will the show pull off right in front of them. Many of the gags are easily understandable and fun to laugh at, though there are some jokes that rely heavily on the knowledge of Japanese culture. Though its intense energy in its presentation would surely give you a good chuckle regardless, even if the references don't exactly make sense immediately. The animation and voice acting further increases the level of intensity that Nichijou has to offer, with each frame giving the biggest impact, along with every voice lines being delivered with utmost passion from each voice actors. Trigon. Vash the Stampede is the most infamous outlaw on the planet Gunsmoke, and with a $60 billion price on his head, the most sought after. Every episode has its own wonderful story and solves a little more of the mystery of Vash's life, always wanting you hungering for more but feeding you enough to love that episode just as much as any other. You are able to connect to the characters as each has their own colorful and lovable personality. Claymore. In a world rife with deadly creatures called Yuma, a young silver-eyed woman, Claire, works on behalf of an organization that trains female Yuma half-breeds into warriors with the ability to destroy these creatures. Considered a rogue for picking up a stray child and almost losing herself to her Yuma side by awakening, she is constantly assigned rather dangerous missions. Unlike other tales about battle and struggle in which the main character has great potential and strength as his birthright, Claymore is all about strength despite weakness. Even through perseverance, you can't really become the strongest, this is one of life's truths. But you still can aspire. It's what makes Claymore so true to life. Neon Genesis Evangelion. The series start off simple enough. A boy is chosen to fight big monsters in a robot. However, the monsters seem to be less important than the troubles the people face fighting them. Although Shinji is no coward by any standard, he's a very troubled person. He hates himself and his father. He needs people around him, but they are a constant source of pain. The show can feel ultimately silly, weird, technologically naive, even insane. But it has a purpose. You shall experience every mood and emotion thinkable over the episodes. No matter how you will anticipate the story would end, it won't be anywhere near the real conclusion. Evangelion just blows your mind. Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. Two friends, Simon and Kamina, become the symbols of rebellion against the powerful Spiral King, who forced mankind into subterranean villages. The show defies realism by a long shot and is fairly light-hearted, although it expresses very abstract and interesting concepts, and also tense subjects we can all relate to. The way the characters and their relationships develop make you love them. The show itself is a beautiful metaphor for the human spirit, showing us that no matter how many people we lose, and how highly the odds are stacked against us, humans will keep fighting as long as they can, never giving up, slowly pushing forward little by little, like a drill. Dr. Stone. Awakened into a world where humanity has been petrified, scientific genius Senku and his brawny friend Taiju use their skills to rebuild civilization. Dr. Stone is a post-apocalyptic anime that has so much detail put into everything. The show seems like it itself is a scientific process. The story is incredibly interesting and philosophical at times. The characters are all incredibly well written and all have their own motives that you care about. I especially loved the visuals of scientific information that they convey in an often comedic way, very educational too. The comedy in this show is very good in general as well. Death Note. An intelligent high school student goes on a secret crusade to eliminate criminals from the world, after discovering a notebook capable of killing anyone whose name is written into it. The show raises a lot of moral questions about justice, capital punishment and vigilantism in a very plausible manner. Instead of giving us clearly defined hero, the anime gives us a rather complex protagonist we might even have trouble rooting for at times. It's a first-rate thriller, and a powerful character study at the same time. Throughout the 37 episodes, the show gives you edge-of-the-seat suspense and intriguing twists, as a result of which it becomes very addictive and hard to stop watching. No doubt this anime has been such a success with the viewers and has left a memorable impact. Kaguya-sama, Love is War. The proudly privileged top 2 students of an elite school each makes it their mission to be the first to extract a confession of love from the other. The plot is simple and very character-driven, which would be terrible if we had mediocre characters. However, the characters in this show are fantastic. The music and art style make the show feel like something truly unique. The comedy is very well timed and almost never doesn't make me at least smile. The emotional scenes are what give this show such a fantastic quality. However, when our characters are in genuine strife, we don't get jokes anymore, we get real people acting how they would in their situations. Love is War is a heartwarming, funny and uniquely styled anime. If you're looking for a rom-com you need to give it a try. Blue Exorcist. After discovering that he's the son of Satan, a young man must join the True Cross Academy in order to master his abilities and defeat Satan himself. The show has a pretty good mix of comedy and action. Some of the funniest episodes are actually the strongest, as they tend to focus more on the personality of the characters than the lackluster story. Blue Exorcist is nothing new in the world of shonen. It suffers from some pacing issues and a soft supporting cast, but it has strong points with the main and overall theme. It's a decent show with a few demons to deal with. The Rising of the Shield Hero. 4 human heroes are brought from 4 different worlds or dimensions. They each have their own signature weapon, sword, bow, spear, and, for our main character, the shield. Their role is to fight against scheduled waves of monsters that flood the kingdom. Our protagonist is betrayed from the very start and makes him to see the wonderful isekai world in which he was invoked as it is in reality, a normal kingdom with all its fails and trash. Though isekai anime taking a turn for the dark are hardly rare, the abject betrayal Naofumi faces is not the treatment one would expect for someone abducted from their world and supposedly rebranded a hero. The animation is acceptable, with some fails, but those don't ruin the experience. Psychopaths. Believing in humanity and order, policewoman Akane Tsunemori obeys the ruling, computerized, precognitive Sybil system. But when she faces a criminal mastermind who can elude this perfect system, she questions both Sybil and herself. You'll like the dark, mysterious, and serious atmosphere of this anime. The logical questions postulated regarding aspects of free will and whether or not a person can be judged before they commit a crime were magnificent. Furthermore, every character added a significant element that made them both likable and unforgettable. The animation was beautiful, and the music significantly heightened every situation. Great teacher Onizuka. Eikichi Onizuka, a 22-year-old ex-gangster member and a virgin. He has one ambition that no one ever expected from him. His solely life purpose is to become the greatest high school teacher ever. Onizuka is well known among members of the anime community for a reason. He's funny, vulgar and caring. He looks after his students and never gives up on them. His methods can be unorthodox and he does a lot of things real teachers would never do, but that just shows how far he would go for his pupils. Since Onizuka wants to help his learners throughout the story, expect a lot of character development. The supporting characters are well developed, but they are not nearly entertaining as Onizuka, with the exception of Vice Principal Achiyamada. Yeah, the art is dated, but his jokes are spot on and the lessons he teaches his students are just amazing. Demon Slayer. A family is attacked by demons and only 2 members survive, Tanjiro and his sister Nezuko, who is turning into a demon slowly. Tanjiro sets out to become a demon slayer to avenge his family and cure his sister. Firstly, the animation is absolutely beautiful and is extremely consistent. The action is fluid and breathtaking to watch. There are some weird visuals that create comedic scenes really well and overall stunning backgrounds. The story isn't the most original but still enjoyable to follow. The show wastes no time at the start showing training or anything like that, it just does it. Every character has their own defining personalities and traits, with good qualities and not so good qualities that all lead to great character development. March comes in like a lion. A 17-year-old socially awkward orphan shogi player, dealing with adult problems like financial difficulties, loneliness, and depression. The character development of Rei throughout both seasons of the show is one of the strongest points of the anime, but is not its most impressive. This anime shines even more when we get into specific story arcs from other characters, which are in my opinion some of the best pieces of storytelling I have ever seen in any anime. The mangaka who created the original story in which this anime is based on has an incredible ability to introduce a new character and immediately give us a reason to care about him or her, thanks to the fantastic character development. Clannad. A high school student who cares little about school or others meets a lonely girl who had to repeat a year while all her friends finished high school. He decides to hang out with her and soon meets more friendly students. As the show progressed, I realized that it wasn't simply a teenage drama, it delved into some really emotional themes, especially in the second season, After Story. Clannad pulls at your heart at every chance it gets, and when you're down and you think you can't take any more, it kicks you again. Mushishi. Ginkgo is an expert traveling around to investigate a primeval life form, the Hmushi, and helping people with mushi-related supernatural problems. Amazingly visualized, breathtaking beauty of life, as it flows mysteriously and appear in different manifestation, like animals, plants, and mushies, creating a wonderful and complex ecology. Each episode is standalone and the series does not have any discernible ending, but this is a huge part of the charm of the series and that allows it to be easily picked up from any point. Assassination Classroom. A powerful creature claims that within a year, Earth will be destroyed by him, but he offers mankind a chance by becoming a homeroom teacher where he teaches his students about how to kill him. An assassination classroom begins. The title of this anime makes it sound like a sadistic and maybe lame wannabe thriller, but in reality, Assassination Classroom is an incredibly wonderful and heartfelt story. It starts off purely humorous and light, but it blossoms into something amazing throughout its 2 seasons. By the end of the series, you seriously know about every character and get legit attached to them, which is amazing. The relationships in this show are executed perfectly, and when you give them a supernatural edge, the result is absolutely amazing. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. Average 37-year-old Minami Satoru dies and is reincarnated as the most unremarkable creature imaginable, a slime. The story starts well and Rimuru is a fine central character. He may be very powerful, after gaining many new skills, but he is keen to make friends and forge alliances rather than the usual more confrontational stories. That doesn't mean there is no excitement though, many enemies need to see just how strong he is before they become friends. The series also provides some good laughs and has a general feel-good quality. The animation is impressive as are the character designs. High School Dxd. After being killed on his first date, idiotic and perverted Issei Hyodo is resurrected as a demon by Rias Gremory only to be recruited into her club of high-class devils. This show certainly isn't for everyone. I couldn't recommend it to anyone other than boys, who will most certainly at least enjoy the constant nudity. But that shouldn't put everyone off. The series starts off seeming perverted, but as it progresses it starts getting soppy, cutesy and romantic. This anime is the definition of, you come for the fan service but stay for the plot. Bungo Stray Dogs. The show mainly focuses on the war-tiger Atsushi Nakajima, who joins others gifted with supernatural powers to accomplish different tasks including running a business, solving mysteries, and carrying out missions assigned by the agency. The show combines a tried and true crime genre with another often used genre, superpowers. However, despite seeming similar to anime such as My Hero Academia from just this description, it is the exact opposite. Its overarching themes never attempt to be shallow or feel good, and the characters have complex narratives and ideals that are surprisingly easy to follow. Bouncing from past to present without confusing the viewers, this anime produces an incredible mix of action and philosophical themes that will make you think hours after you watch it. Code Geass. After being given a mysterious power to control others, an outcast prince becomes the masked leader of the rebellion against an all-powerful empire. Code Geass is, by far, my favorite anime, probably because it's one of the rare series that is a full package. The story is fluent, adequately paced and nicely rounded. No episode is boring nor lacks tension and every character gets enough screen time for a satisfying arc. The ending is unlike anything I have ever seen before. No series or movie or book had me so attached to the protagonist that seeing his demise would leave me emotionally broken. This series has changed the way I view anime, and for that I am grateful. The only thing that frustrates me is the fact that I can hardly put into words what makes this anime special. From its background philosophy of freedom, power and war to the psychology of human relationships, it has every aspect of human life covered and wrapped up in visually pleasing animation. Lelouch is the #1 character on my anime list for a reason, and my heart clenches every time I remember his motives, actions and sacrifices portrayed on the screen. The show never plays on cheap emotion. It won't try to make you cry by constantly creating heavy melodrama moments just to leave an impact. Instead, it will provide a satisfying plot development before any of the plot twists you won't see coming. Re-Zero. Shortly after being summoned to a new world, Subaru Natsuki and his new female companion are brutally murdered. But then he awakes to find himself in the same alley, with the same thugs, the same girl, and the day begins to repeat. A helpless boy struggling to do things right and returning from death to correct his mistakes is everybody's fantasy. Subaru the protagonist is the character you will fall in love with, although most of the times you might hate him, you might feel sorry for him or you might even get annoyed by him, but at the end of the day you will admire him. This anime story is well written, it makes the viewer stay at the edge of their seat. With the end of each episode, you just crave to know what might happen next episode. Baki. The protagonist, Baki Hanma, trains with an intense focus to become strong enough to surpass his father, Yujiro Hanma, the strongest man in the world. Watch Baki if you find violence attractive and when you really enjoy being presented with something that doesn't make sense. Avoid this if you need good production values and need to think hard about the experience. Baki can be intriguing as long as you choose to watch what's going on instead of thinking about what's going on. It's not the kind of anime where the main character is going to do almost every fight like other big shonen series sometimes do. Baki is a show grounded in its absurdity between ultra-violence and disciplines of martial arts. It was designed as an experience for you to enjoy. Soul Eater. The story starts with main characters Maka and Soul, Maka being Soul's master and Soul being the demon weapon. They are one step away from gaining a high title, yet are disappointed when all their past hard work is wiped clean by one easy mistake, resulting in them having to start from scratch. Soul Eater is a combination of cool, funny, and touching moments. You'll need a bit of time to get used to its world and its setting, but as soon as you do that, you'll feel so happy there you wouldn't want to leave it. You'll grow to love the antics of each of the characters. Overlord. An office worker in a dystopian world logs onto a video game for the last time, only to find out that he, along with his entire guild, has been transported to another reality. While all-powerful, the world is unknown and the attempts at exploring this new world is both entertaining and interesting. However, we are not dealing with the good guys here. While Momonga shows an ability to help the helpless and avenge the wronged, he is not always a good guy. This balance is actually critical, as the key tension is the balance between being a good or evil character. All the other characters have a great design and are characterized very well, to the point of making you love them despite not having had much screen time. Fruits Basket. After a family tragedy turns her life upside down, 16-year-old high schooler Toru Honda takes matters into her own hands and moves out. Unfortunately for her, she pitches her new home on private land belonging to the mysterious Soma clan, and it isn't long before the owners discover her secret. But, as Toru quickly finds out when the family offers to take her in, the Somas have a secret of their own. When hugged by the opposite sex, they turn into the animals of the Chinese zodiac. This anime is gorgeous, and it really effectively captures the delicacy and depth of each character, their internal struggles, dark moments, regrets, growth and acceptance of themselves. It is funny and warm, it is heat-wrenching and despairing, it will make you laugh and cry equally. Fullmetal Alchemist, Brotherhood. Two brothers search for a philosopher's stone after an attempt to revive their deceased mother goes awry and leaves them in damaged physical forms. Fullmetal Alchemist is, in a way, unique. It is very much a mainstream series, with the appeal of a huge cast of unique characters, action that commonly involves special powers, a fairly straightforward story with some mostly obvious symbolism, and a mix of comedy, action, drama, and even some romance. These are all common staples of long-running anime series that lean towards a more commercial and public appeal. And yet, for a mainstream series, it manages to continually surprise with a very mature and serious tone. There is a great deal of tragedy, and some moments are even frightening and memorable. Few series achieve such a perfect balance of mainstream entertainment and gut-wrenching drama and tragedy. Monster. A brilliant neurosurgeon finds his life in utter turmoil after getting involved with a psychopathic former patient. Unlike the title, there are no monsters in this series. Well, actually there is one, far more deadlier than the ones in our nightmares, monster created as a result of difference in the perception of what we see in society. No, we are not talking about psychopaths with extreme emotions that enjoy hurting people here, but normal human being that can see the difference between good and bad, light and darkness, life and death very clearly, and thus obviously does not agree with the society. The whole series is about a monster created out of the extreme surroundings around him and the people he encounters during his life that either get obsessed with his thinking or want to kill him for how dangerous he is. Kuroko no Basket. Tetsuya Kuroko, the sixth man formerly with the Generation of Miracles, and Taiga Kagami, a naturally talented player who spent most of junior high school in America, are aiming to bring Siren to the top of Japan, taking on Kuroko's old teammates one by one. Basketball is mostly a mental game, like chess, and this show does that so beautifully. Every player, every team, every game has its own style and unique challenges. Any game-winning play is never predictable, you're always in suspense and never know what'll happen until the game clock runs out. Character interactions and awkward situations are hilarious. This show taps into a lot of your emotions. Baku Man. When Moritaka Mashiro, a junior high student, forgets his notebook in class, he finds his classmate, Akito Takagi, who notes Mashiro's drawings. Takagi asks him to become a manga artist to his stories. This anime series does absolutely open your eyes when it comes to becoming a manga artist, and it can be really tough. Like your busy day and night to get a chapter done before the week ends. The Seven Deadly Sins. The story of the Seven Deadly Sins, a group of warriors who were wrongly accused of a crime they didn't commit and went on a quest to vindicate themselves. The show starts out promisingly. The setup is a bit different from your typical fantasy in having wanted fugitives as its main characters, and the colorful cast featuring members like a 30-foot woman and a talking pig give the impression that the show has more creative ideas to come. Some of the character backstories are surprisingly deep and well realized, and partly manage to stay away from the most tired cliches. The moral ambiguity about who's the actual villain of the story also gives a good impression. From Season 4 is nearly unwatchable, so I suggest to read the manga after Season 3. Haikyuu. Determined to be like the volleyball championship star player nicknamed the Small Giant, Shoyo joins his school's volleyball club. This anime has all sorts of emotions and it'll take you to a roller coaster ride. It is so motivational and breathtaking, it feels like you are watching a real match. The story may seem plain and people tend to think like, it's just a sports anime about high school boys playing volleyball, but they couldn't have been more wrong. The story, the music, the atmosphere, the character development and the characters themselves, that are so different and so detailed, not just in art style but in personality too, makes this anime something unique. Food Wars. Soma Yukihira enrolls in an elite culinary school to become a full-time chef and surpass his father's culinary skills. The comedic gags throughout the series are pretty solid, but the sentimental stories are really what kept me coming back. Soma's rivalrous but fun relationship with both his dad and his friends set just the right tone of tenseness and tenderness throughout the series. When he or his friends are themselves at risk to support each other, it builds just the proper tension to enhance the artwork and visuals of the cooking scenes to be hyperbolically over-the-top dramatic. The only thing I have to mention is that people who are not all too fond of ecchi stuff might find it unappealing. Attack on Titan. After his hometown is destroyed and his mother is killed, young Eren Yeager vows to cleanse the earth of the giant humanoid titans that have brought humanity to the brink of extinction. Attack on Titan stands out as it has an incredibly dark world with actually stakes. The aspects of horror and adrenaline when there's an action scene is stellar. The characters, action and music could carry episodes but don't have to because the show is already that good. Characters have depth and feel like real people, they die constantly and never feel 100% safe. Mystery aspects make even moments that could come off as bland feel so much more impactful. This anime describes the world and our reality in such a scary truthful way, it mixes your emotions and feelings and you don't know what to think, makes you consider 1,000 times before calling a character good or bad. The music makes this epic world feel vast and important, while also sounding phenomenal. Sword Art Online. In the year 2022, thousands of people get trapped in a new virtual MMORPG and the lone wolf player, Kirito, works to escape. Without giving anything away, the show's greatest strengths lie in the rich environment and the extremely creative scenarios they explore. Unfortunately, the show doesn't dedicate enough time to really fleshing out this world and exploring the possibilities within it, but the stuff they did was absolutely fantastic. The storyline is very good, while randomized at times it stays on course on whatever story it tells and it builds up the suspense with battles, realizations, romance, and almost everything an action anime has to offer. A little bit of humor doesn't hurt either, for the show was serious most of the time but still offered a little bit of comic relief that was well needed but not overused like many anime today. The romance within the story was a nice touch as well as the thoughts concerning life and personal strength. Legend of the Galactic Heroes. The story of the struggle between two empires and the two heroes at the center of it all, each fighting for their own reasons. The show doesn't portray either side as evil. The alliance may be a democracy, but it's still incredibly flawed and filled with corruption. And while the other is a dictatorship, it gets things done better than the democracy, and has less corruption. However, there are more limits in freedom. Both presenting arguments and asking the audience to choose, like a good war story should do. The animation and music are mediocre at best, considering it's 30 years old, but serves the purpose as the focus of this series is the storytelling and it does have an interesting story to tell. My Hero Academia. A world in which almost everyone has some kind of special ability, it is called a quirk. There is also an academy that teaches people how to become a hero. Our main character, unfortunately, did not get his quirk, but this does not prevent him from believing that he will someday become a hero. The storyline for this series is fairly clever, not very unique but well done. The characters are excellent and you find yourself excited to discover their powers and watch them evolve over time. There is a good blend of coming-of-age elements, humor and action in this series. The action sequences are excellent, unpredictable and unique in a lot of ways. As the seasons progress they also do a great job of establishing more characters and villains as the universe expands. Hunter x Hunter. Gon Freaks aspires to become a hunter, an exceptional being capable of greatness. With his friends and his potential, he seeks out his father, who left him when he was younger. The story might seem a little childish at first but as soon as the plot develops the very dark nature of the story becomes obvious. The characters are unique and incredibly well developed, with the show not being afraid of testing them psychologically in a way that not many animes are willing to. The fights are intense both physically and psychologically, and as the anime progresses they tend to become more violent and over the edge. The soundtrack is beautiful. From the intense/epic classic orchestras to the guitar riffs, everything seems to fall into place. Even the show's intros and outros are very consistent and worth listening to. All in all, this is the kind of anime that a true fan of this Japanese art will not want to miss. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The story of the Joestar family, who are possessed with intense psychic strength, and the adventures each member encounters throughout their lives. JoJo has got it all, and it goes from strength to strength, improving with each iteration. Every part has an entirely new roster of characters, and even a different genre. Just when you fall in love with those characters, it ends and introduces even more. It never outstays its welcome, it leaves you wanting even more. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, in fact, it's impressive to cut us off and not linger, to never pander to the viewer. It gives you something that is short-lived and you appreciate the time you have with it even more. Do you like things that are unusual? Because it's a show unlike any other. It will defy your expectations, so there's no point in really having any. Just accept it for what it is, a truly unique piece of art that will stay with you forever. Chainsaw Man. Although the anime has not yet come out at the making of this video, having read the manga I can assure you that this anime will be a must for a fan. When his father died, Denji was stuck with a huge debt and no way to pay it back. Thanks to a devil dog he saved named Pochita, he's able to survive through odd jobs and killing devils for the Yakuza. Pochita's chainsaw powers come in handy against these powerful demons. When the Yakuza betrays him and he's killed by the zombie devil, Pochita sacrifices himself to save his former master. Now Denji has been reborn as some kind of weird devil-human hybrid. He is now a chainsaw man.
Subscribe to Rinne